What if I told you, billions of years ago, in a rare act of partnership, one bacterium shimmied on in to another one, forming a relationship which paved the way for modern, complex, multicellular organisms, aka you, me, our dogs, and even those cynically plotting cats. Can anyone tell me why they just look at you and knock things right off the countertop? Hey, evolution ain't perfect. Yo, what is up? Welcome back to another week of How to Health. My name is Kevin. I run liftandbalance.com, where we take aim at all things health and longevity and do it in an odd, weird, interesting, and highly sarcastic way. Today, we are exploring two of the earliest components of our modern day cells, diving into how these once foreign pieces now work together to optimize function and prevent little things like uncontrollable cell growth, or what we call cancer. Kind of a big deal. Arguing that by making these cellular components operate more efficiently, we may be able to prolong our health span, aka our healthy years of life, and get our money's worth of this pretty cool meat suit that we've all been gifted, or metamorphosized into. So we'll talk about ways to do that too. But before we get there, you first must know this story, our story, started billions of years ago. And don't worry, I'll do my best to shorten it to a few hundred million. All right, fine, a few million. How about that? See, I could compromise. And is comprised of a beautiful love chronicle, total chaos, and a nail-biting sequel we may never see. Partly because it's ongoing, which ultimately places this tale up with the likes of legendary shows such as Breaking Bad in terms of chemistry and suspense. Although, instead of drugs, we're talking telomeres, mitochondria, and inflammation. Slightly different biochemistry. So let's begin by setting the stage with our quite miraculous cellular history. Theory goes, billions of years ago, in an improbable world where single-celled prokaryotes, meaning cells without a nucleus, established life, something even more improbable was thought to happen. Two of these early single-celled organisms, likely bacteria, decided to buddy up in an endosymbiont, which set the stage for the formation and evolution of eukaryotic cells, or cells with a nucleus, which is now coined the cell's control center. This is important because the nucleus is the walled-off membrane which houses both the respiratory and genetic information for modern complex cells to sell. Think of this endosymbiont as one bacteria kind of engulfing the other. And over the millions of years to follow, a chaotic transformation of ripping apart, deleting, delegating, and combining cellular structures and information occurred, forming specific genetic instructions which we now call DNA, creating structures to house this information in, chromosomes, and developing a lean, mean respiration machine which may be the very secret to complex life as we know it. A finely tuned energy-producing organelle, which is exponentially more efficient at synthesizing energy than any cell before it. The mitochondria. Evolutionary theory goes, over the course of billions of years, the bacteria which shimmied on into the larger host was able to offload many of the functions that it once had to do on its own and become very specific in nature, maintaining a small handful of protein-coding genes very specific to cellular respiration, or converting food to energy. These mitochondria became so efficient at producing energy that it allowed early eukaryotic cells to carry out more activity, building proteins, enzymes, and carrying out cellular processes at such a pace that eventually it allowed them to evolve into more complex multicellular organisms, and eventually into cats, who look right at you and swipe things off the table. Now, yes, this is definitely an oversimplification of what top evolutionary biologists thought to have happened. But this bacterial scandal billions of years ago set the stage for early organisms to solve the key problem of more complexity, having the energy to facilitate such complexity. being able to convert inorganic and organic compounds into energy gradients, which could streamline the creation of lipids, proteins, and nucleotides, common components of every single cell and tissue type we have, putting the mitochondria, nucleus, chromosomes, and DNA at the very core of cellular health, and thus cellular dysfunction too. Begging the question, how do these components prevent that from happening? And what goes wrong to make those protective mechanisms go astray? Which is bound to happen when you have 40 billion cells doing different things every single nanosecond. Let's take a look at some new data which may be able to give us some hints. Researchers out of the Salk Institute sought to gain a better understanding on how the components of the nucleus, including DNA housed inside chromosomes, interacts with the masters of energy when things start to go wrong. To do this, they looked at what happens in human cell cultures when the protective ends of the chromosomes, called telomeres, shortened, weakened, and became damaged, exposing the internal genetic information to potential insults and mutations, which could increase the risk, probability, and chances of uncontrollable cell growth, or what the medical community would call cancer. Not cool for longevity school. I know. And what they found was very interesting. When telomeres shortened to a point where they could not protect the chromosomes from damage, a process called crisis was turned on, and the cell ultimately programmed its own demise. And despite first impression, this is actually a good thing, as this natural process removes cells with short telomeres and unstable genomes, protecting the surrounding tissue and greater organism from things such as cancer. And I bet you wouldn't guess in a million years how they do it, by signaling the mitochondria, as shortened telomeres released RNA molecules that made their way to immune sensors on the mitochondria, turning on the cellular recycling program autophagy, which recycles weak, damaged, potentially mutated parts of the cell. Pretty cool, right? Bringing forth another piece of evidence that mitochondria are not only the core to energy production, but cellular signaling as well, and regulating the self-destruct and self-recycling mechanisms which ultimately keep our tissue and the entire organism healthy. But this isn't a perfect world, as dysfunction of these pathways provide a way for cells to bypass this crisis mode, thereby evading destruction and leading to bigger problems. All of this reiterates the importance of a key concept, the fact that we are equipped with all of these cellular tools to stay healthy. But just like any ongoing construction process, you only get as far as the material you feed the project and the ability of your tools to function efficiently. And that is what we want to prolong, keeping our cellular self as healthy as possible for as long as possible. So what tools do we have at our disposal to do just that? A good place to start is by outlining what byproducts we're looking for. First, we definitely want to keep our mitochondria, which we can have in the thousands per cell, healthy, as it is at the center of the most critical infrastructure that we have. And as we've seen in this video here, when they become dysfunctional, the cell becomes dysfunctional. And when enough cells become dysfunctional, you get the point. We also want to keep our DNA protected because it carries all of the coding information that we use to build proteins that our cells and collective bodies need to carry out their advanced functions. You know, those functions that delineate them from those single-cell prokaryotes. Yeah. And part of accomplishing that is by keeping the chromosomes which house said DNA healthy, along with their protective caps, telomeres, which modern research indicates shorten an ever so tiny amount with each cellular division, making the task progressively harder to do, right up there with training a cat. Along with this, keeping inflammation in check, meaning acute and specific in its response, is an important goal as well. Because even though it's critical for healthy function and signaling, when chronically upregulated over time, it begins to cause chaos and destruction for the cell, surrounding tissue, and the body. Exactly why we call low-dose chronic inflammation longevity liability numero uno. around these parts. And now that we know what byproducts we want, how do we accomplish these momentous microscopic goals? Well, like I said before, and like the research we reviewed highlights, we've got a lot, if not every tool we need in-house, right in there, watching, waiting, commiserating. Any Blink fans? No? Okay. It is thought that these tools are running and gunning in a very efficient manner all through adolescence. However, as chronological time on this beautiful floating rock accrues, and more importantly, environmental stressors from lifestyle and life accrue, things get rusty. Power stations get leaky and less efficient. And as we know, when there's an energy crisis, the whole city suffers. Thus why, to date, with all the modern research and technology, the single best thing that we can do to promote the health and efficiency of our cellular machinery is through lifestyle. Deploying interventions that elicit a beneficial cellular response. A response that promotes the health of mitochondria, DNA repair, deceleration of telomere shortening, and the control of inflammation. Consistent exercise happens to do all of these, as we've discussed ad nauseum throughout dozens of videos on this channel. Boosting mitochondria function, ramping up mitochondria recycling, a process known as mitophagy, and promoting the creation of new healthy mitochondria via mitochondria biogenesis. And guess what? It's also been shown to reduce inflammation and boost telomere health by reducing oxidative stress and elevating the expression of telomere stabilizing proteins. So, do you move your badonkadonk much? If not, 120 minutes a week at 60 to 80 max heart rate is a great goal to set. Moving on, what you eat matters too. Real whole foods filled with vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, polyphenols, healthy fats, fiber, and protein fuel, lubricate, and repair this cellular machinery in ways no prescription can compare to. It provides all the building blocks for the creation of proteins, building not only healthy muscle, which are loaded with mitochondria, but also nucleotides for DNA, while antioxidants, polyphenols, and anthocyanins are protective to telomeres. These real whole nourishing foods also reduce inflammation both directly through antioxidant pathways and indirectly through its modulation of the microbiome and inflammatory visceral fat. Oh, and it's the literal material that makes up you as you know it, as you see it in the mirror, bringing truth to the old adage, you are what you eat. And as we know, with eating comes strategically not eating, as practices such as daily time-restricted feeding and intermittent fasting have been shown to upregulate beneficial rest, rejuvenated, and repair pathways. But you already know that because we've been talking about it on the Fully Loaded Fasting 101 playlist for years now. How it's been shown to upregulate cellular and mitochondrial cleanup pathways such as autophagy and mitophagy, ridding the insults before they can proliferate, and how it can even re-energize dormant stem cells, or non-specific cells that differentiate into different tissue based on the body's needs, while also reducing inflammation and boosting activity of sirtuins, or enzymes which play a vital role in maintaining genome integrity. And speaking of integrity, all of our cellular and metabolic integrity goes off the counter with the cat paw when we are chronically sleep deprived, as sleep deprivation has been shown to alter the mitochondria's bioenergetics capacity, decreasing respiration efficiency, and increasing the expression of genes involved in oxidative stress. Combining that with the fact that it is an absolutely critical time for both detoxification and immune strengthening, anything other than good circadian aligned sleep with an 8-hour sleep opportunity is increasing one's risk for inefficient cellular operations. Other key modulators of your inner machinery include managing stress, as low-dose chronic stress is right up there with chronic inflammation in its nefarious effects, exposure to pollutants such as smoking and toxins in everyday items, spending less time inside and more time in nature, incorporating more good stressors such as heat and cold exposure, and even breathing right. Here's a hint. Use your nose. At this point, you may be rightfully wondering, how do I even know if all this is working? I mean, we're talking about cellular machinery for 40 billion cells, and there's no real great answer to that. However, there is a simple one. You feel it. When you focus on the habits which promote your cell's health and efficiency, you think better, feel better, move better, and function better in the short term and the long. And that's the ultimate goal, right? Now, there are also objective ways to both directly and indirectly measure things such as inflammation levels, sleep quality, DNA methylation, aerobic fitness, and other relevant biomarkers, but the highest weighted factor should always be how you feel. And when your cellular machinery is operating efficiently, you feel the default human state. Good. Or as I like to call it, effing awesome. You know, the opposite of when your cat is staring at you seconds before it swipes a vase right off the table. If you couldn't tell, dog guy.